Most people were taught to roll their eyes when they hear the word snake oil. But the real danger is quieter and closer to home. The greater risk is that a noisy label convinces you to ignore anti-inflammatory fats that could soothe your knees, cool a stubborn tendon, and support the rhythm of your heart. Here is the small move I want you to put in place starting tonight, so you have a reason to keep listening. Before you trust any bottle or bold promise, ask for the exact source, the species, the dose, and proof of independent testing for purity and oxidation. Then choose only what clears those 4 gates. I offer this as someone who has cared for patients through many cycles of hype. Long before the modern supplement aisle, a handful of loud showmen sold bottles that did not match the label, and that noise helped spark early food and drug protections in the first decade of the 20th century. At the very same time, laborers who worked bone-aching days outdoors used oil from a water-dwelling snake that naturally concentrates an omega-3 called EPA, and that traditional use matches what we understand about how these fats nudge inflammatory messengers toward balance. I am not asking you to take my word for it. Decades of peer-reviewed research have linked regular omega-3 intake with better cardiovascular outcomes and gentler inflammatory tone, and mainstream guidelines still encourage seafood-based sources as part of a heart-healthy pattern that emphasizes whole foods. The strength of this approach is that it replaces slogans with a calm filter you can use in any store, in any season, and it helps you reclaim what is useful without buying into miracle talk. The limitation is that it asks for patience. You will need to read labels, look for the species, check the dose, and prefer products that publish third-party testing. And you will need to accept that no oil is a cure-all. If a company cannot answer plain questions about origin and purity, that silence is an answer. Keep your money and protect your body. Take this with you as we move forward, because in the next part, I will show you how modern marketing turned the old snake oil story upside down, and how to spot the quiet clues that separate real help from expensive noise. We were raised to believe that the days of snake oil ended with dusty wagons and fast-talking salesmen, but the unsettling truth is that the show never closed. It simply moved indoors. Picture yourself sitting in a quiet clinic, a new prescription in your hand, feeling reassured because an official seal has been printed on the box. That reassurance is real, yet beneath it lies a risk that most people never pause to consider. The strength of modern medicine is easy to see. Standardized dosing, sterile manufacturing, life-saving interventions for infections and strokes have extended life in ways our grandparents could not have imagined. That is the bright side, and I respect it deeply. The dark side is more complicated. When one company can invent a compound, fund the research, shape the marketing message, and court the very regulators who hold the power of approval, the carnival game has simply expanded its tent. I have witnessed how dazzling advertisements and confident claims are pushed into public view while the inconvenient truth of side effects is minimized, delayed, or buried in fine print. What was once a fraudulent bottle on a railroad platform has been reborn as a patented drug promoted by massive campaigns and guarded by legal teams. The strength of this evolution is that genuine breakthroughs can reach patients swiftly. The weakness is that profit often races ahead of proof, and the cost is borne by ordinary people who trust the label more than the data. This is not a bitter exaggeration. The record of billion-dollar fines, hasty recalls, and quiet settlements proves the system can fail to protect us. The lesson is not to abandon modern medicine, but to walk into it with open eyes and sharper questions. Ask who paid for the research, who benefits from the patent, and who is responsible if harm occurs. Those questions are your lantern in the carnival tent. Hold on to them, because in the next part I will show you real stories where the glossy promise collapsed into tragedy, and you will see why learning to read between the lines could one day save your life. Imagine the weight of sitting with a daughter who just buried her father, not because of a mysterious disease, but because of a medication once hailed as safe. That scene is not drawn from fiction, It unfolded when a widely prescribed painkiller was promoted as a modern miracle, only for the data to reveal later that it sharply increased the risk of heart attack and stroke. By the time regulators acted and the product was withdrawn, tens of thousands of people had already suffered irreversible harm. The strength of our system is that watchdogs did eventually intervene, lawsuits were filed, and penalties climbed into the hundreds of millions, proof that there is at least a mechanism for accountability. The weakness is painfully clear. Justice arrived far too late, the damage was already done, and financial settlements could never restore the empty chairs at countless kitchen tables. I have walked through these cases as a physician, and they leave a mark on me. They reveal both sides of the coin. On one side, we do have processes designed to safeguard the public. On the other side, those processes are slow, weighed down by corporate lobbying, and often only set in motion once profit has been secured. When you see headlines announcing billion-dollar fines, you may be tempted to believe the scales have balanced. Yet look closer, and you will notice that the company pays, the shareholders absorb the shock, and the machine quickly starts turning again. Meanwhile, the patients who believed in the promise of relief are left carrying silence. These events are not dusty chapters in an old history book. They are ongoing reminders that blind trust in marketing can cost lives. The lesson is not to abandon treatment, but to walk into every decision with sharper eyes and firmer questions. In the next part, we will step into another arena where misplaced trust has shaken millions, the world of antidepressants, and the story will force us to rethink what we thought we knew about the chemistry of the human brain. Each morning across the country, millions of people begin the day with the same act: a glass of water and a tiny tablet believed to be restoring balance inside the brain. That ritual was built on a story repeated so often it became accepted as fact. The notion that depression or anxiety stemmed from a chemical imbalance in serotonin, and that a selective reuptake pill could set things right. To be fair, there were patients who reported feeling lighter, and in some trials there was a narrow edge over placebo. For those individuals, the difference was not small. It meant the ability to get out of bed, to rejoin family dinners, to reclaim a piece of ordinary life. That is the positive side, and it deserves respect. Yet the other side cannot be ignored. Comprehensive reviews over many years have revealed that the imbalance theory was never conclusively proven, and the entire drug class was promoted as if it were gospel. While billions of dollars flowed into corporate accounts, the side effects were quietly minimized. I have cared for people who gained weight they could not lose, who lost intimacy in their relationships, who felt emotionally blunted, and who discovered that stopping the pill triggered withdrawal that felt worse than the condition itself. The strength of these medications is that they opened a door when stigma left patients isolated and unheard. The weakness is that the door was painted with misleading colors, and too many walked through believing they were stepping into solid ground when it was not. When a theory becomes a marketing campaign and a campaign becomes an empire worth billions, the questions must grow sharper. Who profits when science is stretched? Who bears the cost when harm is buried under glossy ads? These questions are not a call to abandon help. They are a call to demand honesty, to pair medication with counseling, lifestyle changes, and transparency, so that every choice is made with open eyes. Keep listening, because next, we will face a twist that may shock you even more. Natural remedies with evidence behind them are dismissed as worthless snake oil, while the real snake oil of our age wears a badge of approval. Picture this contradiction. A modest jar of herbal capsules sitting quietly on the lower shelf of a grocery store is brushed aside as worthless snake oil, even when careful studies suggest real benefit, while a glossy commercial for a new drug promises transformation and still wins approval even after reports of harm. That inversion should trouble anyone who cares about fairness in health. The strength of well-studied natural remedies is that they often act gently, supporting the body without the avalanche of side effects that many synthetic drugs bring. Omega-3 fatty acids from fish, compounds like curcumin and turmeric, and certain soluble fibers have been examined in clinical trials and published by respected institutions. For many patients, these choices cost less and carry fewer risks. The weakness is that bottles are not always consistent. The amount of active compound can swing widely, purity is not guaranteed, and some products are mixed with fillers that dilute the effect. On the other side, stand the industrial medications. Their strength is precision. The dose is measured, the factory is monitored, and a regulator oversees the process. The weakness is the price that can be 10 times higher than abroad, the relentless advertising that inflates expectations, and the serious side effects that sometimes remain hidden until thousands are already harmed. As a physician, this double standard strikes me deeply. The very word snake oil has been inverted. Genuine natural compounds with research support are brushed off, while questionable practices at the top are shielded by law and profit. The lesson here is balance. Natural does not automatically mean safe, and synthetic does not automatically mean better. The strength is that we live in an age where both ancient wisdom and modern science are available. The weakness is that our trust has been bent by money and image. Hold on to that perspective, because in the final part I will reveal the surprising truth about real snake oil. Not a con man's trick, but the oil of a water-dwelling snake rich in a unique omega-3 called EPA, and you will see why this overlooked source could matter for inflammation, heart health, and even mood. What if the very substance long mocked as a fraud turned out to hide a nutrient even more powerful than the fish oil that fills modern shelves? That paradox belongs to real snake oil, pressed from a water-dwelling species used by Chinese laborers more than a century ago to soothe aching joints after brutal days on the railroad. When modern science finally examined it, the surprise was clear. This oil carries unusually high levels of a particular omega-3 called EPA, and that compound does not work like ordinary painkillers. Instead of blocking one pathway and leaving side effects in its wake, EPA changes the message itself. It whispers to the cells that fan inflammation and asks them to calm, to step back, to repair rather than attack. The result is less swelling in sore joints, less scar tissue in the heart and liver, steadier blood sugar thanks to improved insulin response, and even protection for mood. Large trials have shown that diets enriched with EPA can lower the risk of heart events by nearly 1/4, and that same molecule has shown promise in lifting depression without the heavy cost of emotional numbness. I have listened to patients describe mornings where their knees felt looser and their thoughts lighter after consistent omega-3 intake. The strength of this discovery is that it connects traditional use with modern biology, showing that wisdom sometimes precedes measurement. The weakness is that authentic snake oil itself is not widely standardized or accessible, making purified fish oil and concentrated EPA the more practical choice for most Americans. Another weakness is that no oil is magic. It works best as part of a lifestyle that includes nourishing food, steady movement, and calm management of stress. Yet the lesson remains powerful. What was dismissed with laughter as snake oil holds a truth written in science. Nature had given us a potent tool, and our task is to separate the gift from the glitter of marketing. Carry this story with you as proof that answers do not always come in shiny packages. Sometimes they wait in forgotten corners, asking only that we look again with clearer eyes. That balance between skepticism and curiosity, between tradition and research, is the path that will protect your health and dignity as the years unfold.